Hello.
Hello, Austin.
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. How about yourself?
Very good. You got a hell of a setup there behind you.
Thank you very much. I've been working on it pretty hard
I see
for a
that.
couple years.
Yeah. Yes, there's some familiar ones in there.
Oh
Very
yeah, got some of
familiar.
your stuff. Some you got Jedi up there.
Yep.
Then you got some Anhala art around here. Um,
Yes, I particularly appreciate your Star Trek: The Motion Picture. That looks like the scorebook.
it is, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and this is the Banner Saga
oh
hidden
yeah,
by
very
the Mass
recognized.
Effect beanie.
Haha, nice.
Yeah, I thought I'd like kind of put it there. I don't know if you can see this, but I was just a groomsman at my friend's wedding, and it was Star Wars themed.
Excellent.
So, and I got purple because it's my favorite color.
Fantastic.
Um, but yeah, it's wonderful to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. I'm happy to do this. Sorry that I have to be kind of brief. My schedule is crazy because I'm supposed to potentially have jury duty this week.
Really, wow.
Every day is like I could have been in there today. It was a toss up. I found out Friday I was off the hook for today, but tomorrow is still unknown, which compresses essentially all of my tasks for the week
Okay,
possibly to
yeah,
today. You know what I mean? Because I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
have much
yeah.
guarantee of anything. So, but I'm happy to be of help. Sorry to be sliding in. I know you said like the 30th or 31st was your cutoff, so I know I'm
Oh
kind of
yeah, no,
sliding in last
I
minute.
wasn't too worried. And also like the teacher's been pretty lenient with like due dates, and
No,
like
that's good.
class attendance. Although I've been at every class, like never mind that. Um, but yeah, it's great to meet you and that you were willing to join for this.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure.
Um, so I have a little intro that I was gonna put in like the video that I might like show to the class. But I have an
Okay,
intro for you. Do you mind if I just go through that?
no worries.
Austin Wintory is a true paragon of media scoring, especially when it comes to video games, having penned magnificent scores for titles such as Journey, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and Towerborne. He's additionally written music for other mediums such as Star Wars Rogue One writer Gary Whitta's audiobook called Gundog, and the live art and music uh, improvisation collaboration that called Dialogos that Austin performed with his now wife, artist extraordinaire Angela Bermudez. Austin has so graciously agreed to sit down with me and answer a few questions that I prepared for him. Austin, it's an absolute honor to be speaking with you here today and to officially meet you.
The pleasure is mine. You're overly generous in your comments there.
Well, I mean, I think it's well deserved, both for you and Angela, but especially you with the work that I've experienced.
Well, that's very kind.
Um, so since you're gonna have to be brief, I'll just jump into the first question.
Go for it.
And preface, like I've listened over the years to a lot of interviews you've done. So I tried to pick like questions that I haven't really gotten the answer to.
Oh,
Maybe
exciting.
I'm a little less clear on for you.
Sure. No, that's intriguing.
Yeah, so we'll see how I did. Um, in this age of computers and composers having all the technology at our fingertips across the pantheon of your scores, what has your relationship been like with commercially available sample libraries or virtual instruments like Cinematic Studio Series or Cinesamples?
Um, Certainly the bulk of samples that I use are essentially for demonstration purposes only, meaning I'll be working with a team and, in order to make sure that we're all on the same page before I go and hire a proper musician or small group or a large orchestra or whatever the case may be, they have a
Hmm.
chance to hear a relatively accurate rendering of what it will sound like and to make sure that we're all on the same page. Um, And so the vast majority of what I use samples for is that, what we call a mock-up.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's also lots of samples that you come across that are just kind of like unique, weird, interesting
Mhm.
sounds. And
Yeah.
and in those cases, it's not that they're mocking something up because they become the instrument at that point. So I'm never opposed to using that kind of thing. Um, and so that's something that's been that way from the start in my
Mhm.
career. If I'll find a sound and I'll heavily modify it so it becomes something entirely new. And so even though I'm technically using a virtual instrument, I kind of perform it as if it was like an actual analog synthesizer.
Right.
So that, yeah, so I would say probably the majority of the samples that I'm using are not really meant to survive to the end product.
Mhm.
But a good number do. It sort of depends on the project also, certain like a game like Towerborne you mentioned, there's
Mhm.
effectively no
Totally.
samples in the final project. It was
Sorry, what was that?
I said in a game like Towerborne, there's effectively no samples
Yeah,
in
yeah.
final product, but like a game like there's coming out in a few weeks is this game called Sword of the Sea with giant squid.
Oh, yes, I'm
There's
excited about
plenty
that.
of well, I hope we can deliver. There's plenty of samples in that because there's a lot of weird sounds that I delivered, and
Ooh,
also that
nice.
that one was also kind of an piano is very central to that score, but I decided to use sampled piano in that one because I kind of dialed it into such a specific sound that
Mhm.
I could travel the world recording every piano on the earth and probably still not be fully satisfied that it sounds just like that. So I
Right.
decided, all right, you know what? I'll break my normal rule, and so I don't know. Does that answer your question? Is that sort of
I was also a little interested in if you ever, because I know you said Towerborn, you didn't really use any, no samples like ended up in the final product. But I'm wondering if you ever do like, have you heard of layering, like where you have like a live recording and then you like layer samples underneath to like
yeah, of
beef it
course.
up?
That's very much the Hans Zimmer method. I've never really been crazy about how that sounds.
Uh,
Every now and again, there have been situations where out of sort of desperation, I've cheated. It would be like one note here or one little half measure there, something very minimal,
mhm.
where it just for whatever reason it doesn't quite work in the recording, but that it's exceptionally rare. Um, and
Yeah.
because yeah, normally I'm just not a fan of how that sounds. Like it because it's like I don't know. It's because whenever I'm writing for the live instruments, the whole point is that it's going to sound how they sound. So making it sound
Mhm.
more like the samples by adding the samples in, it sort of defeats the point of what I was doing in the first place. I may as well just go with the samples.
Right. Yeah. I get that. I get that. Yeah.
Part of that is
Um,
just my aesthetic. I
yeah,
like the naturalism of actual instruments. Like
totally.
I don't generally write or produce in that kind of um, that sort of remote control Hans Zimmer type way.
Right.
When I have done things that are very production oriented where it has to sound really massive, like for example, I do ongoing music for Lego Fortnite,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we recently did a this kind of hero. It's not really DLC. We were calling it an expedition, but it's sort of like a little short term engagement with players that just came out maybe a month or two ago that
Yeah.
has a bunch of really like big gnarly brass that I recorded in Nashville for it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of places where I want to amp that up, but I don't amp it up with samples of the brass. I would amp it up by layering it in with like sub bass analog synths or
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
some crazy like Moog sound or something so that it sounds massive. The brass is still the front end of the sound, but it's
Right.
actually technically this kind of hybrid of different sounds that form it. That to me, all that kind of stuff is totally fair game. But
Yeah.
people who really
Hybrid.
try to
Yeah.
make brass sound bigger by just layering on fake brass. To me, it usually makes it sound
Right.
doesn't necessarily make it bigger. It just kind of makes it sound weird to my ear. But that's my taste.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've gotten similar feelings, but because I don't really work with live orchestras ever or live ensembles, I just have to like kind of make do
Sure, yeah.
with what I work with. Um,
Yeah, that's a whole other situation.
yeah.
Like obviously I recognize I'm speaking from the very lucky position of, generally speaking, if we want to record something, there's money to be found for it. And but also if I'm working on a project that doesn't have the budget for that, then I will just advocate that we look for another approach instead of something
Hmm.
that ultimately will sound cheaper than if we had had more money.
But you say you do include like synthesizers, like sometimes with scores.
Literally every project I've ever done, going all the way back to Flow.
Really?
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're on everything I do. Even the Banner Saga, for all of its heavy leaning on the large ensemble recording, would have these subtle pads and things that are I mean, Journey is, people think of Journey as sort of orchestral, which is funny because it's really not at all. It has a lot of strings, but it's not. There's certainly no brass or traditional percussion or anything like that. But it's also mostly towards the back half. You listen to the entire
Hmm.
first third of Journey. It's basically some flute solos, some cello
Oh
solos, a
yeah.
whole bunch of harp and stuff, but also quite a lot of very textural electronics.
Yeah.
They're part of everything I do. The way I look at it is there are six families of instruments that we use: winds, brass, percussion, strings, human voices,
Mm.
and electronics, which an electronics is like an umbrella term that includes everything from analog synths to manipulations of recordings or field recordings. Anything you can imagine, basically, that's not made by the other five would go in that sixth. And most everything I do has little bits and pieces potentially from all six.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I do recall like original Journey score having some synths.
Oh yeah, tons.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, that's I feel satisfied with hearing that from you. I was kind of wondering that for a while. I'll go on to the second question that I had.
Hmm.
For games like Towerborne and Eternal Strands, what's the typical balance like between what you compose and what your orchestrator does?
The orchestrator, in my case, Susie, who I've worked with a long time, Susie Seiter,
Right.
um, what she's doing is is almost like high level copying supervision. It's not really
Mm-hmm.
orchestration in what the traditional term means. We call it orchestration because it requires a commanding knowledge of orchestration to be able to do,
Yeah.
but it's not orchestration in the sense of writing a piano sketch and somebody deciding, okay, that line can be flute, that line can be viola, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
My mockups contain every single detail that is going to end up on the chart,
But yeah,
including,
that's what I felt like kind of listening to your scores and like hearing you talk about your process.
yeah, yeah. There's a video on my YouTube channel that steps through it, and you can see precisely how she takes. It's called "How to Write 1 Minute from the Pathless," where you
Oh yeah.
you can see, like on my screen, my mockup. I'll leave all these little markers that say, like for example, if it's a let's say I write a 3 note chord in the trumpets, and we know we're going to have four trumpets. I will specifically say either trumpets A3, which would mean fourth trumpet ducks out, or I
Right.
will write like top note is trumpet 1 and 2, or bottom note is trumpet 1 and 2, or like I'll get all the way down to that level of
Yeah.
specificity in the mock-up and leave her
That's
all these
great.
little notes so that it's very clear how it's supposed to appear on the page. And then
Yeah.
she'll also text me a lot of questions while we're going. She'll say, "Hey, bar 97, is this supposed to be a crescendo or whatever?" All that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She'll convert my mock-up MIDI data into a Sibelius conductor score, send it to me, and then with my iPad, I mark it up in red and make all the changes to things that either she didn't know or she guessed, and I disagree with her guess.
Okay.
Every now and again,
Yeah.
she'll suggest a thing that I didn't think of, or I'll miss something, or there'll be a typo. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you know, like if we imagine an example where there might be a bunch of like everybody low in the orchestra has a big unison melody or something. So you have, if you're looking at it, you go, oh, you know, trombone, bass trombone, the cellos, the basses, the bassoon, they're all playing the same part, but then it's
Yeah.
like tuba for whatever reason isn't. She'll leave a question, go, are you intentionally leaving them out? Can I just add them in? I'll go, oh yeah, that was dumb. That everybody should be playing. Or sometimes I'll
Yeah.
go, actually, there's a specific reason why I don't want the tuba there or whatever. So because sometimes I might just make a mistake, or there might be a mistake in the way the MIDI translates. So yeah, what she's doing is interpreting what I have there and making sure that it ends up on the page as accurately as possible.
Mm.
It's definitely not the idea of the kind of old Hollywood notion where you would have a 4 or 6 line sketch, and even with if there's orchestration suggestion in there,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of liberty in the final sound. Um,
Right.
I've never worked that way. It's pretty precise.
Yeah, totally. Sorry to go back like to the previous question, but you were talking about like how you create the mock-up. Are you the one like working with all the sample libraries or virtual instruments?
Yep.
Oh, you do. You don't like hand it off to your assistants at all, like Dallas, or Sheeran?
No. Yeah, I don't. I have invited. Sometimes I'll do what you can call additional synth programming, where I'll
Right.
create the piece and then like I'll send it to. I have a guy I work with a lot named Joris, and also or to Shireen, where I'll send them the piece and I'll go, you see the MIDI channel of like I just grabbed like say some Omnisphere patch and
Yeah,
I
Omnisphere.
use
Yeah.
it as like like okay, here's the general idea, and then I'll send them that and I'll go,
Yeah.
and you use this MIDI data and here's a description of what I'm looking for. Create some new sounds that will just swap in place of that as a stem.
Okay.
And so then I'll get those stems and I'll pull them in, and I'll, usually they'll, if I ask for one, if it's like one little thing, they'll send maybe 3 or 4, and
Mm.
I'll kind of go through and go, well, I like this, but I don't love the way the high end sounds, so I'll like EQ off the top or whatever.
Mm.
So then I keep working on it as audio production based on what they send.
Yeah.
Um, and it just becomes part of the element, but it's always derived from what I've already got in there. A classic one that happens with Joris a lot is we'll be doing something that has, some almost like quasi pop music production elements to it, like a
Mm.
kick drum. They're
Yeah.
steady, just like thump thump thump, where there's a whole lot of hours that can be spent dialing in the perfect kick drum. So I'll usually just grab
Totally.
some
Yeah.
stock sound that is fine, gets the job done.
Yeah.
I'll say to him, I don't love this kick. Can you get me one that has a ton of mass, but also one that has a very gentle attack or something?
Yeah.
Some alternate kicks that are playing the exact MIDI pattern
Okay. Yeah.
did, but it just
Yeah.
makes the sound. So then I'll get rid of my audio, replace it with his audio, and dial it in. Or sometimes I mix the two, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So you could use it as a placeholder and then just kind of describe what you want to your assistants or whoever.
Yeah, exactly. And in those cases, all they're doing, in my mind, what they're doing is not that different than if I write a cello solo and I send it to Tina Guo and I go,
Right. Yeah. Of course.
can you record this? And she'll say, like sometimes it's very specific where
Yeah.
marked as if it was a classical solo where, every phrasing, everything is marked. But then there's other times where I'll say to her, feel free to play with the dynamics of this and be maximally expressive.
Oh yeah.
And I'll trust you. And so I can leave space for her to interpret it more. It's the same thing with these kind of sound design type
Yeah.
work that those folks are doing, whereas sometimes I have a very particular need and sometimes there's little room for them to give me options, and then we'll see how it sounds.
Yeah, like it's very clear, like when you listen to them, like Tina Guo or like Kristin can like do magic with what you send them.
Oh, for sure.
I'll move on to the next question if that's all right with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, great.
Again, this is more like in the hay, kind of like getting through it, but what you're working with. But how much mixing do you do during the composing process through orchestral mixing, if you know that term, versus through audio plugins while you work on a cue or after you finish one?
So there's sort of two different questions baked into one there.
Yeah.
If it's a traditionally orchestral score, or if there's any aspect of it that's traditional, like, like Towerborne is very traditional.
Mm-hmm.
Something like Eternal Strands is not. I recorded, a string orchestra and I recorded a brass ensemble separate from one another, and we recorded them
Mm-hmm.
as traditional ensembles, kind of, but I did a ton of post-production work that really made a mess of things and
Yeah.
intentionally kind of played with it. So, um, but the performance was done in a sort of traditional way, which means that your first stage of mixing, quote unquote, is the writing itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're, if you're writing a flute part in its bottom range against four horns, you will never hear it. No amount of mixing no amount of
Yeah.
mixing can save that unless you overdub the flute and you just force it in the mix. But
Mm.
if you're writing for any kind of ensemble that is meant to play as a traditional ensemble, then yeah, of course, the first stage of the mix is how you write it, making sure that you understand how the balances work, how overtones work and the natural resonances, all that sort of thing. So that for sure is number one. Also, what room are you recording in? Some rooms have really
Huh.
natural tails, long, big, spacious sound, which is going to impact, if you're recording in Abbey Road Studio 2, that's very different than Studio 1 or at the Hall at Air or, the Sony stage here in LA or versus Nashville, Ocean Way Studio 1. These are or Studio A. These are all different rooms that impact that sound, and the more you're kind of trying to capture a group, the more you have to bear that stuff in mind. And then in terms
Mm.
of the follow-up, the post-production um, part of it, absolutely. Um, I I work with a mixer. He mixes
Right.
probably two-thirds of my scores. I mix quite a few of it myself.
Mm.
Some of them he mixes more or less entirely, like Towerborne, and then there's others where we kind of we kind of trade it back and forth, like on Aliens Fire Team.
Okay.
I did a bunch of pre-mixing. There's a lot of sound in that score. I recorded so many different instruments and so many different things, but then we also did some semi-orchestral recording. And so then I hand
Yeah.
that to him. He makes that sound good, and then I take
Mm.
those and I put them back in mine and continue to mix from there. And then the final product is with me. And then there's others that I do it entirely, like Stray Gods. No one touched
Yeah.
me. That was all myself. Same with same like Susie didn't work on that one. Steve didn't work on that one. I did essentially all of it myself. Um, so so yeah, you're kind of mixing as you go.
Yeah.
There's also a ton of post-production process that yeah, involves plugins and gear. I did Joris worked a ton on Stray Gods, and we did a lot, especially with his equipment. There was
Yeah.
a lot of post-production work that's sort of part of the mix, but it's more just broadly post. For example, I remember on all the Persephone related scenes in Stray Gods, we had this organ that we wanted to use, a kind of Hammond B3 organ sound. And yours has a reel to reel tape machine. And so it was like
Oh well.
we would literally roll all her organ to tape, saturate it, and then redigitize it back in because it took on a really wonderful special quality that way. And so he and I were trading files back and forth a ton. But at the end of the day, the
Mm.
final mix always ended with me.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so, yeah, you're using every trick available, basically.
So like when you have the mixer like mix your music, it goes back to you to like finish it, you're saying?
It depends. Sometimes yeah, sometimes no. With Steve, we've done it every way.
Mm.
On Banner Saga, once he was done, it was done on all three of those. Same with Towerborne.
Yeah.
Same with Erica. Those were mixed with him, and it ended with him. The stuff that we've done with Darren, he mixed like
Oh yeah.
those mixes ended with
Oh,
him.
he mixes. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
On the orchestral stuff only. Darren, obviously, the vast majority of that stuff is Darren by himself. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
things we did on Hades 2, for example, in
Oh
London,
yeah.
Steve mixed those. And I think
Okay.
Darren may have added a few little bits of percussion afterward we were done, but the mix is
Hmm.
99% Steve's mix.
Since you mentioned the Hades too, I'm guessing is it like you and Darren in tandem with like the Olympus area? Like you're writing the orchestral stuff and he adds all the like more band or rock kind of
It was,
elements.
yeah, so in the very most general sense, that is how it worked. I mean, it's his score fundamentally, so
Yeah,
I was kind of the guest in his house. So the way that
totally.
it worked was, but he asked me, in order to get the most out of this collaboration, how should we do it? And I said, well, my recommendation would be give me a little fragment of an idea that I can run with,
Okay.
and then we can back and forth. So he would send me,
Yeah.
8 measures of just like a little sketch, a little like here's a little melody or something. Like
Yeah, yeah.
on the one that we call Olympus Aflame, he sent this little, he was like, I kind of want to play this melody on a guitar and on a Greek bouzouki, which was
Hmm.
this kind of like, dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
He sent this little melody, it was like 6 bars with just a tune. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no additional context, and it was like 15 seconds long. So I said, okay, let me turn this into 4 minutes,
Yeah.
and then expand it, and then there'd be parts where he'd go, oh, I can make the drums go wild here. So I'd say, okay, in that case, let me, I can get rid of the orchestra, and we can let the
Okay, yeah.
step forward, and all that kind of stuff,
That's awesome.
back and forth,
Yeah.
so that it never felt like it shouldn't feel like two people worked on it is the goal.
Yeah, I don't feel that when I listen to it or play through it. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, I think it's a good like congealing of your two styles.
Yeah, it was really 50-50. There's a bunch in there that, you know, especially in that piece in particular, all the biome pieces that we did, which they're kind of split down the middle of what plays as you get towards sort of the boss at the end of that area. And then there's sort of the version that triggers once you hit the boss.
Oh
And
yeah.
so the biome one is like 80% me riffing on Darren's ideas.
Yeah, yeah.
And we kind of flip where, because the band becomes so important in
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
of it, it was like, okay, you know, like, you should probably lay down a first pass, and then I'll sort of chase in behind.
Okay.
But even then, there were lots of places, where he would have like a guitar thing come in. I said, can we make this not guitar? And what if I did this? We had this huge brass section. So I said, what if we make the brass here, and then they can kind of explode, and then the guitar comes in and that sort of stuff. I mean, it
Mhm.
was really just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was so much fun, honestly. I really loved it.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I definitely get that like when I play through Hades 2 or when I was playing through Hades 1, that it seemed like a really good time for the two of you.
Well, and I barely touched Hades 1. I mean, we
Right,
just the
yeah.
very, very end.
I think you just did the finale or the credits music.
It's the so what happened is, there's this piece that we call On the Coast, which is
Right.
when you finally beat the game and you wind up standing on the surface, there's like
Yeah.
this orchestral piece that comes in where,
I know it pretty well. But
yeah,
yeah.
so that one was a collaboration where we were already working on this record, the songs of Supergiant.
Oh yeah, I recall listening to that
Yeah, we
the
were going
fun
to be
one.
recording that, and we're like, what, let's just throw some Hades in, and so he made this very simple little sketch, and then I work also with this arranger, a lot, named Brian LaGuardia, and I had Brian
Okay, yeah.
do a pass at it and play with it, and then I went through and we kind of made some tweaks and adjustments based on Darren's little simple sketch, and then for the ending credit song, he basically had a finished song, and it
Yeah.
had the vocals and the guitars and the drums and the synths and all that, and but he said, anything you want to add with the orchestra, just go for it. So I basically took
Yeah.
our ensemble, our kind of chamber orchestra we were recording for the record, and just found things to add in there. But I was very much just kind of adding another layer of paint. It was done,
Yeah.
which is
I
why I
mean,
told him on Hades 2, let's not do that. I said, let's, rather than you just write a finished piece and
oh
leave
yeah.
little cracks in the wall, let's build it from the ground up together, and it'll be
Okay, yeah.
more sort of tightly interwoven.
I did enjoy like when you were talking about like going back and forth between the two of you for Hades too. So sounds like
Yeah,
it
it was
was a
so
good
much fun.
choice.
Oh yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah. Do you have time for one more?
Yeah, let's do one last one.
All
Happy to do
right.
it.
So for my last question, I was going to ask what you thought was currently the best ways for composers to enter the entertainment industry, but you addressed this exact dilemma in your recent video about working with Rachel on Bitcraft Online. So I will pivot and ask, where do you find influences as a composer these days? For example, do they come from music, games, film, or TV that other composers score, perhaps art or travel, or any other mediums you can think of?
So I do a lot of listening. I listen to tons of music of all kinds. I mean,
Mhm.
in the last 4 days, I went to a, My Chemical Romance concert and
Oh yeah.
the LA Philharmonic at the Hollywood Bowl doing, Vaughan Williams and Holst. So and this is a typical week for me. I go to a lot of, it's one of the benefits of living in Los Angeles. I see
Mhm.
lots of classical music. I go to the LA Opera constantly. And but I also go see jazz. There's a lot of, I have friends who play, in big bands or small quartets and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Or larger shows. Like seeing Samara Joy play Disney Hall, or like
Ooh.
Jacob Collier at the Bowl, which is
Oh
obviously
yeah.
all a jazz show. It's sort of its own thing. It's just a Jacob Collier show, but and then
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, we go see lots of rock music, pop music, metal, all kinds of
Metal,
stuff. Go to
nice.
like weird, you know, installations, and I have a friend who runs an ensemble called Wild Up that did a Xenakis tape music show where
Oh
everybody
yeah.
laid on the
Wow.
floor in a dark room, and so when it comes to music diet, I try to make sure to have a really mixed diet. Plus, I listen to tons, online, and people send me their stuff, and
Mhm.
I just, I let the algorithm point me to random pieces I don't know, and of course, I watch a lot of movies and play a lot of games, and
Yeah.
I hear a lot that way. But all that would constitute, at most 50% of what I would consider the source of inspiration, but ideally it's more like 30%.
Hmm.
I like listening to other music more to learn the craft than to
Yeah.
seek inspiration for ideas. I think the best ideas come from outside of music entirely, where
Yeah.
from the books you read, it's from the meals you eat, the people you talk to. I travel a lot. I love traveling, and
Oh yeah.
seeing the world, and going places I've never been, and being around languages that I don't speak, and kind of trying to understand a little bit about them and that sort of thing. And so for me,
Hmm.
that all fills the creative well a lot more effectively, because it's life. To me, the greatest art somehow reflects, if not life itself, it reflects the artist's impressions of life. And so the
Yeah.
goal is to just make sure that you have a bunch of life in front of you,
Right.
that what, and that doesn't have to mean, travel, or, you know, it could just literally mean walking down the street and just, actually paying attention to what's around you, and not just going through life with blinders on or autopilot, and like, I love, one of my favorite things is getting up super early because I absolutely love the sound of birds right at the crack of dawn.
Ooh yeah.
And it's just like one of those things every morning. I never get tired of that. It's always a little bit of a shame when I wake up after that. Um,
Hmm.
it's rare for me. I tend to be up very early, but yeah, anyway, so that would be my answer. Yeah, it's I think that the more we look to the outside world to help fuel our music, the more interesting that music has the chance to become. If all the
Yeah.
music that we're working on is referential to other music, and never mind if it's like other video game scores or something like that,
Hmm.
then it's kind of like breathing into a bag. It's most of it is
Yeah.
recycled air. It's not very good for you.
Right. Yeah, I like what you say about like kind of it's about like what you're doing other than music. Um
It works for me.
yeah, totally. It seems to. Um yeah, I'm just wondering real quick if what game you're playing right now or games.
Um, I just beat Doom, the Dark Ages.
Oh,
And so I've got that one off the list now. And a buddy of mine named McLean Deemer scored this game that just came out called Wild Card.
oh yeah, I saw that
No,
on
no, sorry,
Instagram.
not Wild Card.
Heart, I think.
Wild Gate. Um,
Wildgate.
and that's I played a few rounds of that. That was good fun. I may play that some more. That was a good time. Otherwise, I'm in a I'm a big deck builder game fan. So there's a game that came out a few years ago called Sign of the Sojourner that I've been spending time with.
Okay.
And and I went and bought literally today. I went and bought a bunch of kind of other deck builders just to kind of see. There's one that I liked from a few years ago that I played a fair bit called Griftlands that I reinstalled. I was like, I should go back and
Oh,
do that.
nice.
That was an interesting game. And so yeah, it's all over the place though. You know, I play tons of games. Usually I play them for enough time to kind of figure out if I need to stick with it or not, you know, like
Mhm.
I might play for just an hour or two, and a lot of time I go,
Yeah.
okay, I feel like I kind of have, I feel like I get it. But then other times, you know, it's like Doom,
Yeah.
I saw through to the end, or like Expedition 33, I saw through to the end.
Oh, you played that all the way through?
Yep, I beat that.
Yeah, I've been
Uh,
hearing a lot of good things about it, but
oh my God,
I
it's a
haven't started
masterpiece.
it. The music I hear is like phenomenal
The
on its
music's
own.
excellent. Yeah, it's a
I,
young guy named Lorien. It's his first game, and
yeah,
he
it's the
absolutely.
studio's first too. The other day, I think I
Well,
saw like,
except the difference is they're all a bunch of veterans from Ubisoft and stuff.
oh right, yeah, that's
He literally
right.
hadn't made a game before.
Okay.
And he did such an unbelievably good job.
Yeah, totally. I think the other day I saw like a Game Rant article where they had put like 33-minute version of the first track free on Steam to download. It's like an extended version that I didn't hear any loops in yet.
Uh,
So I downloaded
he-
that.
yeah, I don't know anything about that, but he wrote 7 hours of music. He and I
Oh
recorded a
yeah.
podcast together, and he told me it was 7 hours of music, which is honestly I believe it though, because you know I played the game for maybe 30, 40 hours before I beat it, and you don't hear that much repetition. There's some, for sure,
Yeah.
some, particularly because of the cinematics, but there's a constant parade of new material. So yeah,
It's
Shireen
always awesome to
thrilled.
hear in a
Yeah.
score.
In any
Um,
case, I'm sorry that I have to run,
yeah, no, it's
but I'm
totally okay.
happy.
I get
I,
it.
I hope this was helpful. I hope this kind of gave you what you were after.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be good for the course, and I feel like you answered some questions that I was wondering about for a while with your music because I've just been listening for a while,
Yeah, well,
good
I
amount of
appreciate that.
years.
Yeah, and I could feel that those were novel questions, which is I'm not used to that, which is it's always
Oh
nice,
yay,
you know. Most people they don't, you know, most people just don't know. It doesn't occur to them that you've been asked something a bunch of times, or they themselves they haven't read other interviews or whatever. So it's not that it makes me mad. It's just more fun when
yeah.
it's novel. So thank you for that. I appreciate that you put the time in to kind of think that over. It means a lot.
I'm glad that that's how you feel, and I appreciate you saying that.
No, it's just the truth.
And I hope Angela and Canvas and Aria are doing well.
I suspect they are all good. I'll check in and find out, but I think everything is good.
Yeah, but thanks so much for your time, Austin.
It's my
Uh,
pleasure.
it was a pleasure to speak with you today.
Oh yeah, my pleasure's all mine. And you know, drop me a note after you deliver this and tell me how it went.
Yeah, do you mind if I play clips of this in the presentation
No, that's
potentially?
what I
Is
assumed.
it also all right, like if maybe on Instagram I post like a screenshot or a little clip of the
No worries at
interview?
all. Yeah, no worries at all.
Okay. But yeah, it was a pleasure to speak with you and to finally meet you,
Yeah,
and to
likewise.
see the classic background that I see in like every interview.
Yeah, my little office here.
Yeah. But
My pleasure. Well, all right. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I'll look forward to an email from you.
yeah, thanks for joining me, and good luck with jury duty and any
Yeah,
music stuff that you're working on.
much appreciated.
Sword of the Sea. Looking forward to that game.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. We're real close to done, so
Yeah.
I play test it every day to find more little tweaks.
Oh, that's great.
I
Yeah, I
go do that
appreciate that
again
like
today.
you're one of the composers that does that like for
Oh, it's
games.
essential.
Yeah.
All right,
Uh,
have a good one.
yeah, you as well, Austin. Thanks so much.
Yeah, take care.
Shireen.